being part of this mission of Sai that we all share. We all can say we breathe the same air that he breathed when he was on this planet, even if some of us didn't visit Prashantaniya. We share the same generation that he was in. And so when we look back and study lives and teachings of masters such as Jesus and Krishna, study the life of Rama, which is even older than all of these, we can now draw parallels as we understand and study the life and teachings of Sai, who walked among us not very long ago. So in a sense, it's a pride for all of us. And having said that, it's also with great humility that I stand here to share what little I perceived of this divine teacher who allowed me to stay at his feet for over 15 years. It was his grace entirely and his divine benevolence that he tolerated me and allowed me to seek my path into divinity. I always have a problem how to begin talking about this wonderful saga, of this wonderful journey with Sai. And once having begun, I have a problem stopping. But I know I have bound my time, and I promise I will stop on time. Because I know Swami is a lover of discipline. My physical journey in this lifetime, when I say in this lifetime, because today where I am, I know that my journey with Sai has been through many lifetimes. But in this particular lifetime, it began when I was 17 years old, and my parents were desperately looking for a college to send me in. I was born and raised in Mumbai, which was called Bombay then. There weren't any residential colleges. And the reason why everybody in my family was looking for a residential college was because my father got transferred from Bombay to a distant village up in the north. There were no signs of any colleges back then. And they were worried, where would we leave this guy? And I had made it very clear to my family by the time I was 17 that I knew what I wanted to do. And guess what that was? It was to join the Film Institute. I loved acting and I wanted to be a comedian. I was realistic. Looking at my height and looks, I said, I don't want to be a hero. I think I can survive being a comedian. But to the dismay of my parents, for those of you who are from India, and especially from my generations, you know how anything other than studies is a blasphemy. I can sing, yeah, go back to your studies. I can dance, very good, go back to your studies. I have this award in running, athletics, excellent, go back to your studies. So studies, everything revolved around that. But that was not to be so. And I'm grateful it wasn't. In the years that I spent with Swami, he fulfilled that desire as well. He gave me so many opportunities, not just to act in this play, but to write the plays. And he sat with me, we go through the script word by word. Those are moments I cherish, where he would say, no, this is not the teaching, it doesn't reflect the teaching. Put this word, and then you will realize the perspective of a divine teacher, how every word mattered, every act in your play mattered. And hopefully if I get a chance to talk about some of those, you don't hear this very often. Some of those moments where, what made him divine? What makes him divine? What makes us talk about him 7 years after he has passed away? In this day and age where every news, however big it is, passes off in time and it becomes small and unimportant, if you will. In this day, when the biggest catastrophic events after a while become small and say, yeah, it was sad, but it's gone. In these days when our mind and our brain are so stimulated to seeking something new, how are you and I sticking to the same old guru? How are we sticking to this divine energy? It is always baffled in my mind. But then how are we sticking to the same Jesus? how he's sticking to the same Krishna, and the same Bible, and the same Gita. And every time you revisit these books, every time you revisit them, there is something new to take home. So it's never the same old. So we stand corrected there. It never is the same old. And therefore we constantly see something new. What was that magic in Swami that he made this so? As a young boy, I wasn't a devotee of Swami when I joined. And I want to cut that story very short. So, long story short, my father, after desperate attempts to see where can we send this black sheep in the family, was ready to run away and join the Film Institute of all the things, the horrors of being there. Because my parents are very orthodox, Hindu Brahmins. For them, anything other than puja was sacrilege. Sacrilege? Anyway, that's German for not good. For them, Film Institute was something of a bombshell. So when they heard that Sai Baba has an institute, the first reaction, of course, of my grandmother was, no, we don't want all these magicians in our family. We believe in Shiva and his son Murugan, and we worship them from ages, this is our tradition. No. Look at him with all his hairstyle. No. He goes with cards. No. We don't want somebody traveling in cards. Somewhere down the line, I think in my generation, I guess, and pardon me for saying, sounding judgmental, but it's just a matter of observation. As a young boy, I began to notice that we worship people who are famished. They don't eat at all. Oh my God, he must be great. He's very thin. Have you seen him? So frail, he must be great. He doesn't sleep at all at night. He must be great. Somewhere in our search for this Guru and God, we started looking for Superman. You know, the children look for Superman at the S sign, we look for somebody who would defy what we think. And so when somebody came with a flashy silk robe and a jazzy hairstyle, looking handsome for a change, people were like, no. So the Orthodox were shook, their foundations were shook, and they said, no. We are used to the frail-looking, fragile, old people, not this young, flashy Guru traveling in Mercedes-Benz. Oh my God, Shiva. But when an incarnation happens, such as what happened in our midst, they don't follow the rules of the book. When you talk of trailblazer, Swami is a perfect example of a trailblazer. He didn't pick up a newspaper and say, let me see how good holy men look like for me to project myself as a holy man. He broke all those rules and adopted a unique look, which even today, after the mighty success of Sai Baba, no other holy man dare adopt that look. That is the uniqueness of a teacher like Sai. He celebrated his uniqueness. And that's what I spoke a little while ago to some children who are a conference call. And it's very much on my mind. What made Swami so unique? What made him so divine was his inherent belief as I see it. And before I even speak one word further, let me put this disclaimer. I am like that little ant who goes and digs a mountain, carries a grain of sand, and goes around telling his colony of ants, I know what the mountain looks like. I don't know, but what I'm sharing is that little perspective on that little ant. Swami is much more, and to each one of us, having established our own direct link with Swami, he means so much more than what I am here to present. I am merely presenting the way I saw him, the way I allowed him to inspire me, the way I followed his footsteps, and the way he continues to inspire me, and how he is still the role model for me, everything I do. What I saw in Swami was that burning desire to serve. I never saw him rest even for a single day. Even after a big function, you wouldn't say, oh, I'm done, people are gone, alright, let me take a break now. Let me stop being God. Let me watch some TV, I just want to chill. There was no holidays for this teacher. That is the first thing that blew my mind as a young boy. You say I was with Swami for a few months. Yes, I was. But there were times I just wanted to run out and take a long run in the grounds and just let out steam, because staying in that little room from morning 4 till evening night, I was so, I need to get out. It was stone walls. There wasn't fancy paintings that give you a peek into the soul. There wasn't soft music being played. There wasn't magical lights in that house where Swami lived most of his life. And of course, he moved to another much bigger place much later, but alas, at that time he was in his wheelchair, so he never really got to enjoy what a home would be that you and I are privileged to enjoy today. It was a stone, the mandir is built of stone, rocks cut out from the mountains and built. And at some point, at one point Swami said, there are two things that will survive over 1,000 years. One of them will be this mandir, and the other one, he said, will be Ishwaram High School, my first ever institution that I set up. But anyway, that was besides the point. But it was a stone wall, painted, a couple of, the 100-watt incandescent light bulbs there to light up the room. And windows, if you have a window like this, nowhere this big, but then you have these little panels on those windows, and they all with thick mosquito nets, so hardly any light was coming in. And they were all closed. Most of them were closed, one was open. Why they were closed? Because Baba would say, no, devotees are there waiting to catch a glimpse of my hair or something. I don't want to cause indiscipline in the ashram. I want them to do their job. I don't want them to form a line in some odd place saying, hey, I can see Baba's hair or a piece of his robe, so close all the windows. Imagine living like that. Well, some youngsters here might say, oh, that's not bad, I can do that for a week. Maybe. A week maybe. If you're really strong and tremendous determination and willpower, maybe a month. But imagine day after day, 365 days in a year after year, for decades, living in that little room, going back into your bedroom, which is dingy. Pardon me for saying this, but this is the truth. Dark, one ceiling fan, hardly any space, just 10 feet by 12 feet perhaps. A little wooden table on one side, a funny looking oval-sized bed. Because some devotees gave him, he said, let it be there. You turn to one side, the foot comes off the bed. It was that small. And my first reaction when I saw those rooms were, how does he manage to live like that? But he did. There wasn't a day where he came out looking depressed or sad. We talk about vitamin D, necessity for sunlight, and we talk about what all we need to be happy, and why depression is caused, and why weather is so important for our optimism, and we blame everything around us. But here was one teacher who said, really? Do you really need all that? Now when I project this picture of Swami, some of you may say, yes, of course he did that. He was the incarnation of the Supreme Intelligence. He is God, so he can do that. And by doing that, we put him up in an altar, put a nice picture up there, and create that wonderful magical distance between us and him, and say, you could do that, but look at me, I'm the poor man. How can I do all this? I'm just a human being. And to me, that's the lesson that Swami came to teach us. That is the lesson Jesus taught us, that is the lesson Krishna taught us, I think that is the lesson Rama taught us, and Sai Baba taught us. To me, he is a role model. To me, he lived a life so we can emulate him. In one of his discourses, which I remember, and we had the privilege to listen to hundreds of them, and many of those stay still very clear in my mind. One of them he said, don't walk behind me, I am not your leader. So he made it very clear, don't come behind me and say, you lead, I don't know anything, whatever you do, please quote me. We love that victim mindset, right? In the name of devotion, we play that victim mindset. But it's not that. Don't walk ahead of me, he said, I am not your follower. Walk beside me. Hold my hand, I am your friend. Meaning he's come to tell us and teach us, listen, you and I, we are the same. But look what I do and look what you do. So there was this evening, a very wonderful evening, where we were sitting with Swami, and the little boy, and a young boy, next to me. I say young boy, I was young too at that time. Well, we were sitting together, and this boy was coughing, and Swami said, "What happened?" Swami comes cough. Swami said, "Tell him to go, where he should go." Both of us looked at Swami, thinking he was kidding. What do you mean, tell him to go? So this boy just gingerly said, "Swami." He said, "Why? Tell him." I said, "No, Swami." And Swami looked at me and said, "Listen, if suppose I see a blood coming out of my hand, I said, hey, stop, go back. It will go back." And we looked at Swami, and inside my head, not externally, we said, "Duh." Meaning, of course, Vita, you can do it. You are God, you are Sai Baba. And then we said, "See, but you can also do." And he saw our disbelief in our eyes, looking at him. And he said, "Why? You don't believe me?" We said, "No, Swami, we don't believe you. You are Swami." He said, "So, what is the difference between you and me?" "Tell me," he told his boy, "what is the difference between you and me?" He looked at both of us. "What is the difference? You have 2 hands? Yes, Swami. Look at me. Do I have 4 hands? No, I also have 2 hands. Do I have 2 feet? Yes, but look at me. I also have 2 feet. You have 2 eyes? I have 2 eyes. You have 2 ears," and he went on like this. 1 nose. You can see, I can see. You can talk, I can talk. You can sing, I can sing. Walking, talking, reading, writing. You do, I do. Where is the difference? And for a moment, he caught us there. For a moment, we were like, "Wait a minute, seriously, where is the difference?" And then he said, "But there is a difference." But there is a difference. The difference is here. Pointed to his eyes. And he said, in Telugu it was Chupulu. Chupulu means perspective, the way you perceive things. Perception. Difference is here in matters of perception. How you perceive things and how I perceive things are different. That is all. And then beautifully Swami said, "You think you are a small little atom. In this big universe is so huge, so vast, so expansive. And who are you? You are a small little atom." And we nodded eagerly because that made perfect sense. That's exactly our comfort zone. That's what we've been taught. That's what we've drilled ourselves into believing. And that's who we are. We said, "Yes, Swami. Isn't that what humility is all about? I am nobody. I'm just a small little atom." And then Swami said, "You think you're a small atom in this universe. I perceive the universe as a small atom inside me." Change of perception. And then they beautifully, simply said, "Change your perception, then there is no difference. Change your perception, and there is no difference between you and me." This is where this divine teacher wants us. This is where he came from. This is where he wants us. He wanted us and he wants us. And he will not stop till each one of us, having come into this sport, will reach. This is the height of perception that he wants us to worship, to indulge in. This kind of perception that the universe is a me, Purnamada, Purnamidam. That is whole and beautiful. But this is whole and beautiful too. That is all divine and complete in its totality. But this is complete and whole too. Purnam is whole, complete. Purnam Ada, that is outside, is complete. Purnam Idam. And from the whole comes what comes out. Also, that's a beauty of this. It breaks logical mind. The logical mind is taught 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Up and down, black and white. Duality comes in. Logical mind finds comfort there. But this breaks. How can you remove something from something? This has to be subtracted, right? He says, no, this is also remains complete in itself. And yet you are able to just take out completeness from complete. Both are complete. And therefore the God in you is the absolute, powerful, supreme, divine being. The God in me is the supreme divine being. The God in him is the supreme divine being. And how can that be possible? But that's a beauty. Ekam Sat. Vipra Bahuda Bhavati. I throw in some Sanskrit here and there just to show I know a little bit of that too. Truth is one, it's perceived as the many. Ekoham Bahushyam, the one consciousness decided to become the many. This is the heights where Sai Baba came from. This is the heights that he wants us devotees to come to. If you in your heart feel that once in a week attending a bhajan or once in a while praising him and going home with his victim mindset, who am I? Oh my God, Swami, help me, I'm poor, I'm confused. Swami is not going to be happy because he's come to empower you, to shake you and say, I am with you, I am in you. Understand that, empower yourself and take that one step. If you slip and fall down, I am there to pull you up. Stand up and walk again. And if you fall 10 times, don't be afraid to stand up and walk again. But because you're afraid of what this decision might lead me to, or what this relationship might go, where this job might go, I'm afraid and fear rules it. And in that fear, I say, Swami, help me, Swami, I'm confused. And he stands watching. Because you are full of you and your confusion. You don't feel his help coming. When it comes to the path of devotion, he taught us. And these are powerful lessons I take home. He taught us that devotion is the ultimate path. Yes, but that is the path of empowerment. And he would once very sternly spoke to us boys. He said, have you ever seen Arjuna as a coward? Yes, there was once he was a coward in the chariot. Before the war, he became a coward. He didn't know what it was. He was like, poor me, how can I fight these people? I don't want to fight. I'm ready to give up all this. And he had a so-called values surrounding him, all disguised and coming to him. His fear within was tackling him. So this great warrior, just before the war, he says, oh, poor me, poor me. And guess what happens? Krishna is waiting, standing patiently, listening. Like a counselor, I guess, right? They just sit back and you go on talking. I've seen this in the movies. With Swami, he was the best counselor, but you don't have to talk to him. You just have to sit in his presence. That's a different counselor. But, so Krishna stands back and he's watching. So in the Gita, if you ever study it, and I urge you to study it, it's very powerful study, just like the Bible is. In the Gita, the first chapter and 11th verse of the second chapter, there's only Arjuna wailing, oh poor me, how am I, Krishna, I don't want to do this war, this is crazy war, I don't want to do this and that, and it goes on and on. And the more he goes on and on, Krishna doesn't talk at all. What is that signifying? Swami said, the more you are wallowing in your own poor me, God just stands back quiet. You're not allowing him to enter your space. You're just full of yourself. Where is the space for Swami to even talk to you? And then in the 11th verse, Swami said, Arjuna said, I don't know anything. After all this, I know this, I don't want to do this because this is what I've learned and all of this. He finally said, oh Krishna, because Krishna was answering. So finally he gives up, he says, I don't know anything, just guide me. His cup became empty. And now Krishna comes in and fills the rest of the Gita as Krishna is teaching to Arjuna how to live this life, how to be a warrior in this life. And so Swami would say that other than that one point of weakness of Arjuna, Arjuna is an epitome of devotion. And what does that teach us? A devotee is a warrior. Strong, powerful warrior, knowing he's fighting, knowing that Krishna is the charioteer, and therefore he knows where he's taking me. And if I have to fight the situation, I will fight with all my might. I will play this game with all my might, with the confidence that my charioteer is Krishna. And then Swami said, Hanuman was, the monkey god Hanuman. He said, Hanuman, have you ever seen Hanuman cowering in a corner saying, I'm a poor monkey, who am I to do this? I don't know, the ocean is so big, who knows where Sita is? There are other warriors like Jambavan and Sugriva and all of that in the story of Rama. Established warriors. Who am I? I'm just a small little tiny monkey. He would have easily passed on like that, right? That is what we do. Who am I to change the world, right? So it's all that leaders should do it, politicians should do it. I'll just go to my job and come back home. This little meekness, which we get away telling ourselves we are just being humble, is not what Swami was talking about. It's that Hanuman turned around Why? Was he a proud monkey? Was he full of ego? No. He knew he was not the doer. He knew that if Rama has sent me on a mission, it must be possible. I must be able to do it. Otherwise, how am I even part of this gang? How am I part of this group? There must be something in me. I don't know. But if he has chosen me for this, then I must step out and do. And so he looks at the ocean. He didn't have a GPS to find out how much is the distance. He has no picture. There's no Instagram or I don't know what these apps are, where people send their pictures across. And Rama didn't say, here's a picture of Sita, here, take it, go look for her. So he doesn't know what Sita looks like, no idea. He doesn't know what is on the other side of the ocean, right? No GPS to tell him there's a big kingdom there. He has no idea, and yet he leaves. Just think of that for a moment. What makes those stories last thousands of years? Because of these lessons. And Swami said, that is devotion. Devotion which empowers you, it gives you confidence. Because you know you have to do it and the God within you is doing it, then jump. He was not afraid of being drowned. He was not afraid of, that is all comes out of self-judgment. What if I don't do it? What if I'm not successful? What will people think of me? Would I be made a fool of? None of that bothered, because all of those are a little ego trying to pull you back into this comfort zone of poor me. Think of Baba's life for a moment. And this I never ever get tired of sharing. So pardon me, some of you have heard this, me saying it before. A young child is born when I was being raised in the Orthodox Hindu family, a lot of pujas, one after the other, and I was told stories and I was not allowed to ask questions. Because asking questions at that time was a blasphemy. So they said, Krishna was born, he was a young child, his uncle came and threw all his cousins against the wall. Golden stories, right? As a child, I was terrified listening to that. But there was no 911 to call those days. And his uncle came and flung his cousins, and his parents were rotting in the jail when Krishna was born, and they separated this child from the mother, and the child was hidden and taken away, and a big cobra took care of the child, and then he was taken away and raised as a cowherd, and then he became Krishna, the mighty emperor. And as a young boy, I was like, give me a break, this doesn't happen in real life. That child would be severely psychologically affected, separated from parents. How is it possible? It's not possible. So I dismissed it as fantasy. And then I went to St. Xavier's High School, a Roman Catholic school, and I learned about Jesus. They said Jesus was, again, his birth was not recorded. He was hidden and taken away and raised as a carpenter's son. Nobody knew who he was. And he became the Son of Man. Again, same story. Come on, what's happened to these people? They're living in fantasy world. These things don't happen nowadays. You have to be rich. You have to know somebody in town to be famous. You need money. You need education. How can these simple folks who are supposedly have nothing suddenly do all this? And then comes Sai Baba. In our generation. In our lifetime. Born where? In Mumbai? In New York? No. In a God-forsaken village, literally, when I say God-forsaken, it wasn't even on the map of India. Nobody knew where Puttaparthi was. The name Puttaparthi itself was terrifying. Puttaparthi means a place of anthills and snakes. Who would want to stay there? Talk of names, right? Colorado Springs. That's a nice name. Puttaparthi. Not even on the map of India, no water to drink, drought-prone area. Back to the beyond, a little child is born. Alright. At least as he'd been born to a landlord, rich family, just any other ordinary millions of children that are being born in poor families all over the continent, this little child is born. Regular parents. He's being raised to walk to a school barefoot. Swami would say, I have to pick up thorns on my way to school to keep my shirt together. That's what we all did. Very nonchalantly we would say that. So we all took thorns. We didn't have buttons like you did. So we didn't have to worry about buttons falling. Thorn falls, we pick up another thorn. And so, raised in that circumstances, how does a child who is raised like that in 85 years' time of the time that you and I just give up this job, move to India, would you do that? You would say, I have this funny dream, oh my God, I just stopped watching TV. And you just dismiss it, right? But not so with Swami. If Swami appeared in your dream and you were in Timbuktu in some godforsaken place, you would give up that and follow his way. He said, my gosh, how is that possible? How is that even possible? And that's why I started off saying, how is it possible that you and I are sitting here, taking time off, which could be otherwise spent in front of a big TV screen, and more relaxed perhaps, than worried about bears and mountain lions. What makes us take that time off and come thousands of miles? And this is thousands of miles away from where he was born, where he thought, where he lived. 7 years after he's physically passed away. What makes that? What makes a person influence lives to such a depth? How is he talking to you and reaching you in your heart? How does it happen? There is only one answer to that. That he saw himself in us. He knew a secret to one thing, that we have somehow either not learned or not willing to entertain. Swami said once, how do you think those rishis and yogis of, these are one of my favorites, I always remember. So how do you think the rishis and the yogis of the yore knew about planets? And true, it's Surya Siddhanta is a document, nobody even knows how old it is. There are scholars arguing, debating whether it is 15,000 years or 12,000 years. I was like, wait a minute, both are old, as good enough for me. Or perhaps even older. Now these documents are not only discussing trigonometry and algebra and mathematics and all of that, that's besides the point. But they also talk about distance between Earth and the Moon, the diameter of the Moon, the diameter of the Sun, the distance between Earth and Saturn. Now with all our education here, PhDs and so on and so forth, if tonight we would take a walk, don't go alone again, bears, but if you do take a walk, look at the sky, and you say, let me see if I can figure out where Saturn is. Do you think you would be able to? Maybe one or two might. If you're a fan of the night sky and you know it, memorize it well, you could. But how could these people, thousands of years ago, not just recognize which was which, but also give it qualities of lightness? They knew Saturn was almost like filled with gas and it's an extremely light planet, so they described them very, very close to what NASA is finding today. They knew water was in the moon and they ascribed moon to water and relationship with moon and the face of the moon with water, Earth. They knew Mars was, in ancient astrology, Vedic astrology, which I've been studying now for over 15, 16 years. Vedic astrology, they have written Mars is considered the son of the earth. Bhauma, it's called. Bhauma is Bhumi Putra, one who was born of the earth. So there is a belief in Vedic astrology at some point that this one planet separated itself. So Mars is got very Earth-like qualities. And guess what NASA is finding today? Mars is like Earth. We're going to start civilization in Mars. It's amazing to see how there was knowledge available for which we need instruments and study and education. There was a path, another path perhaps. And therefore Swami asked this question. How do you think these people knew this? How do you think they built temples which lasted thousands of years? If you go to India and you see some of these magical, amazing, huge granite-like structures built with such precision that for the lack of any logical understanding, even the greatest people are saying, maybe aliens came and built it. Because they're refusing to believe that back then there could have been a civilization far more advanced than where we are today. And we are merely trying to find our way back there. Or rediscovering what was already discovered once. There is a temple in South India, Tiruchendur temple, which is below sea level, sitting on the seashore, and yet when tsunami came, all the villages around got destroyed. The waves did not cross 100 meters away from the temple. The waves subsided. This temple is still standing, unscathed. So what was that these people knew that this will withstand the sea, below sea level? So there was an access to knowledge which is beyond our understanding. And Swami would say, how do you think they knew it? And we kept quiet. Swami said, they knew one thing by which everything else is known. And he would tell us, that is the one thing I want to teach you. Know that one thing, and everything else is known. I know you're dying to hear, what is that one thing? Well, never mind, some other time. Know that one thing. And you would say, what is that one thing? Who am I? The real cause of today's crisis, whether it is health crisis, whether it is crisis of psychological crisis or physical crisis, whether it's a crisis within an individual or within a family or within a community or the world at large, whatever it is. If there is a crisis, and I'm sure we'll all agree there is, it is because, and in all of the crises can be labeled in one, it's the identity crisis. We have not even found who we are. We came into this world, we borrowed an identity that was given to us, and we live with that borrowed identity. And we start building careers, raising children, advising everybody how to live life without looking into the mirror and understanding. And you look into the light into your eyes, and you still don't know who you are, how you came into this lifetime. Who are you? What happens after birth? Why were you born in the first place? What is the I in you that seeks to survive? Whether you're awake, there is an I in you. Whether you're sleeping, there is the same I goes into sleep. When you're fast asleep, you don't know the I, but you get up and say, I had a good sleep, so there was an I there. How does this I survive all of this? What is this I within me? But then we are neither taught in our schools, nor do we take time, and we moved away from this I principle. And therefore we look upon elsewhere for answers. And as quick as we are to blame elsewhere for our where we look elsewhere to redeem us. And that looking elsewhere is taking us further and further away from our source of divinity. This is what Swami has come to correct. This is my belief. He said, look within. November 23rd, 1983, in a very short but very powerful discourse of Swami. And you have probably heard this, there are bhajans of that. He said, I'm going to give you a gift. This mantra is what I want you to chant every day. He wanted us to chant every day. What was that mantra? I am God. I am God. I am not different from God. I am Sat Chit Ananda. Truth. Consciousness. Bliss. I am Akhanda Parabrahman, the indivisible, absolute, supreme. Grief and anxiety can never affect me. I am ever content. Fear cannot affect me. Fear cannot enter me. I am God. I am God. I am not different from God. He said these are 5 aphorisms. I am God. I am God. I am not different from God. I am Satchit Ananda. I am Akhanda Parabrahma. Grief and anxiety can never affect me. I am ever content. Fear cannot enter me. So say this every day. Watch your life change. I know this sounds very abstract, right? You might say, wait a minute, I mean, we thought we came to hear some nice stories of Swami and but if I don't share this core message of Sai, which I believe, I think I'll be missing the point. And I can tell you, oh, Swami gave me this ring and how beautiful it was, and Swami performed a wedding and tell you all the details of that. You will clap and all of it. We go home, what are you taking home with my wedding story? Or with how many watches I had, or what rings I had, and these are the pictures. Look at me with Swami. Hey, what are you going to take home? So I refrain from that. I shared it, there's a context and if Swami inspires me. But this to me is so precious. This is what empowers my life every day. This message of Swami. Tap into your divinity. And to me, going back to that analogy of this young kid in a village, at 13 he decides to set out on a mission. Look back and you analyze the physical aspects of Swami's life. He had nothing that you and I have today. He had no social media to give him popularity. How many likes did I have after my discourse? Can somebody tell me? How many new subscribers? No. None of that social media or social networking, which we think is so crucial to be popular, to be important, to be understood or accepted. He didn't need all of that. He didn't look for that. He didn't have that. He set out on his own with one fundamental belief: I have a mission on this earth. And if you read that letter he wrote to his brother, I have come to light the lamp of light in your hearts and to see that it grows day by day in added lustre. I'll see if I have that. Maybe I'll read it later. That he was clear what he wanted to do, and nothing could stop him. Whether there were 5 people, and there were 5 people during some of his really wonderful miracle times. Just simple 5 villagers hanging around to see who's this crazy kid saying he has got a mission on earth. Out of curiosity, perhaps they were hanging around. We don't know that. But that was enough for Swami. Whether it was 5 or 50 or 50,000, it didn't matter. He was going on with his mission. And when I was in his room watching, I saw that same intensity day in and day out. His day would begin wanting to give. His day would end wanting to give. And there's one word I would take home from Swami's life, is to give. Just give. Oh, wait a minute, but what about, don't we have to see what I had in my bank or in the kitchen before I open the refrigerator door? Swami said, if you can give, you can give even from an empty hand. Just make up your mind to give. If I make up my mind to first get and then give, by the time I get, I will say, wait a minute, maybe a little more. Wait, just a little more, a little more, and a little more. And I'm 80 years old, I'm thinking, now I am so habituated to only getting and not giving, I'll be saying, let me keep getting only. I am too tired to give. Selflessness, which Swami talks about as part of service, as part of everything, devotion. Devotion and selflessness, what Hanuman was. He was selfless. He said, I am not the doer, and therefore why should I be afraid? He did the greatest tasks that Rama set him out to do. Impossible tasks he was able to achieve because he knew he was not a doer. So does surrender empower you or does it make you weak? It empowers you. Selfless service empowers you. In that selflessness, in the lack of the fear that goes away, Swami begins to empower and teach you those very principles. He taught us with his life. One Telugu speaking boy coming out from that village, he would go by himself, find his way to Chennai and other nearby towns and villages and cities and say, I've come to do satsang, I'm going to do satsang. So Swami Vikas was very kind enough during our PhD to take us to a devotee's house, just 3 or 4 of us. This was an old devotee, and so she invited Swami for lunch, and she has known Swami since Swami was a young boy. And Swami would apparently go and sleep in her house, so imagine her love for Swami would be so much. And so when we were having lunch, Swami said, oh, tell these boys, these are all like donkeys, only eating, unloading, they don't know anything about me, so tell them. And this lady was relating such wonderful stories. It was amazing to listen to her. Made us so humble that even an incarnation works for his mission. He worked for his mission. That's what I want to tell you. Don't think Swami waved his hand and things happened. He worked hard. She said, you would come here and say, I want to do a bhajan, let's do a bhajan. And I had to call people and get people for bhajans. And he would start doing bhajans and it would never stop, it seems. It will go on and on. And she would have to tell Swami, so you are young, you can do bhajans, I am tired to sleep, you come, go to sleep. Or enough of your discourses, now go to sleep. So, because they couldn't stop this enthusiasm of this young boy who wanted to come out and teach and share and sing. When I hear those kind of stories, it just touches my heart to see how you don't expect success. You just focus on every day how to be excellent in what you do. Give it your best, very best, whatever you want to do, and success will follow. But we are taught to chase success, and therefore in order to chase success and be successful, quote unquote, we compromise on excellence because we want to appear successful. So right from window dressing our resume to doing whatever it needs, wearing a fancy tie and an expensive suit to appear successful and confident, we forget what is excellence. Sometimes. But with Swami, what I learned was focus on excellence. Success will come by itself. Don't worry about that. Focus on excellence. What does that mean? Just do better than what you did yesterday. Be better. Let you be your best competitor. Do better yourself every time. How can I sing better? Not for anybody else to clap or praise me, but just for me to find my joy. How can I do things better? How can I give more I saw Swami when he was giving, and you have all seen this. He wanted to give, and giving has to be excellence in giving. He didn't do this by preaching us, but I saw that in action. When he wanted to give saris, I have actually witnessed him sitting with a couple of vendors, sari vendors in Chennai. When he would go, they would come with box loads of sari. He would say, show me them. I can't tell you, just give it away. I want to see, because he's going to say, I'm paying you. I want to see what saris are. And they would gingerly open the saris. He said, I want to see the jari. Open it. And so they would show samples of what they want to give Swami, so he could give devotees, right? And Swami purchased these. So he's sitting, he asked them, this is not a sari. How can I give these things? I want very, very good quality saris. And you would be thinking, in the 80s, for example, Swami was already very popular then, right? At any given point, there were 20,000, 30,000 people around Swami. So if he decides to give saris, who's really going to open and say, oh, Swami didn't give me a great sari? They'll be thrilled that, oh my God, Sai Baba gave me a sari, and thrilled. But then he is not happy until he feels he's given the best sari to the person. That little act of giving was excellence in action. When my father was 60th birthday, had a 60th birthday, and Swami called him for an interview. The night before the interview, he sent word, and he sent a dhoti in the white big towel. How else do you describe dhoti? It's like a sheet that you wrap around the waist for the men, and a sari from my mother. And so the person who came to give the sari, Colonel Jogarao, comes and tells my mother, you must be doing something really great, puja. And she said, why? And he says, because Swami opens a cupboard in his room, looks at the saris and says, Sunder Iyer's mother is like my skin color. Jogara, which sari will suit her? Why would he be so particular about which sari will suit my mother's skin? Were we big donors or something? We were just ordinary folks, mind you. There was nothing that we did that would catch Swami's attention like this. And the reason I'm sharing it only with this, don't miss the point here. The point was, he was focused on every single act of giving. Just because you're giving something free, if you ill-treat your act of giving, oh, they're just giving it free, it's okay, it's alright, cheap plastic is okay, it's free. Then in your act of giving, you've already compromised your excellence. If you could afford to do your best, why not? When he opened the super specialty hospital, which was years in the making, because he already had a hospital in place, free medicine, right? When you're doing free open heart surgeries, how many people say this should be the best hospital in the world and it should be free? They would just be happy, give it free. Okay, out of 10 people, 3 people survive, that's good. At least they're giving free, what else can we do? We justify that as if giving free makes us somehow the gods, and someone who's receiving free is like below us. We feel that sometimes, right? And so we compromise on the act of giving. And it just comes back to us only. So therefore, when we get in life, is also we get compromised things in our life. With Swami, he never compromised on what he wanted to give. And believe me, and I say this again because I worked in the trust since Swami's Sai Baba Trust. My father was an accountant. There wasn't any time, as far as I was there, an excess money that we had to spill. There wasn't. When Swami said free education, there wasn't money. So he didn't get before he gave. He didn't. He started giving and more was given to him. And this is the point I want us all to understand. Don't wait to give. You'll be waiting forever. And when you don't give, then you don't get more to give. And when you learn the joy of giving, then it's a joy which is unbelievably supreme. Give your time, give your resources, give your money, whatever it is. Just, with Swami I learned that. Be a giver. He says, be like the river. Let the water flow. The river doesn't say, oh, I don't know if this drought time will come. I'm just going to hold on to this water. I'm not going to let it flow. He said, if the river thought like that, guess what would happen? That would be a well. Initially it looks nice and full, but eventually even the water cannot be drinkable, right? Well water becomes stale. Nobody will go to the well. But the more the river gives, the more the water flows. The more the river gives, the more the water flows. In one beautiful conversation, and I don't have time to get into the details of that context, he told me, if you decide to give, all the universe will come to serve you. Only thing, give selflessly. Give fearlessly. Give without the consequences. Give, just give. Let your heart be filled with love and give, and you find the universe will come to serve you and give you more chances to give. And this, while it was scary initially, at the moment I started putting this in practice, believe me, it has worked wonders. Never once I had to turn back to Swami and say, Swami, I am following you, I am giving, but what is this? Why am I like this? Never have I had to say that. Every moment, every night, I only end up saying, thank you for giving me this opportunity to understand the secret of success, for abundance in life. If we want to experience abundance in life, trust, please, my dear sisters and brothers, I'm sharing this from the depths of my heart. This is true. If you want to experience abundance, give. Just give. Whatever it is you feel like giving, give. And when you give it with as if the person receiving you is your God, who's giving you this chance to serve. If somebody would say you have to serve food to Swami, you would be like, oh me? Oh my gosh, really? Cook from my house and give? What would you go and buy then? You would buy the best ingredient. You would cook with so much diligence. Why? Because Swami is going to eat this food. What happens if it's somebody else? Oh, Sunder is coming. Every time he comes, I have to cook for him. Yeah, should expedite and it's okay. So, that's fine. But the point is, if somebody else, then we lack the quality. And therefore, in that compromising of that quality, in compromising on my own excellence, I'm insulting no one else other than myself. And when I demean myself, then my chances of finding divinity within goes away. And therefore, we fall back into this comfort zone of poor me. What do I know? I'm just confused. And we call that bhakti. And we pray from that vantage point. That is not a vantage point. That is a miserable place to pray from. Swami, I'm confused. I don't know. Please help me. There's an analogy here and this is taken from Swami's teachings, but I'm not quoting him here. On a stormy night, you're walking alone and you see this mansion. And it's so dark and lightning and heavy thunderstorm. You want to take, but looks like like these Harry Potter kind of mansion. It's very scary to look at. So on the one side, you're like, I don't know what is inside this place. Maybe some evil spirits. I don't know. I'm terrified of this. This looks terrifying. But then outside, it's pouring, it's lightning, and so it's like a devil or the deep blue sea. What do? I have to do something. And in order to survive, you decide to enter this mansion. You open the door and you step inside. It's pitch dark. And there's occasional lightnings. You see now, all of us are thinking of the horror movies. So think of that. Entertain that for a moment here. So all those weird images, and it's very scary. So there are moments in life where you don't know, if I take this step, I'm scared. And this step, I'm terrified. I'm just standing here, completely confused, not knowing what to do. Right? And this is just an analogy of that. At that point, what do? We have two choices. One is, please Swami, I am so terrified, I'm so confused, I cannot go out in this rain, I cannot step inside because everything is so dark. Please help me Swami, please help me, I am so confused. I can relate to that. I like to do that, right? There is another way to pray. And to me, that is what I have to learn staying with Swami. What is that? It was, I am standing here, I know I'm afraid, I'm confused, all that. Let me put aside that. At this point, am I breathing, or is my life at danger? I don't know if it's at danger, but at this point, I am breathing. Take a deep breath. Thank God. Oh, I'm alive. Thank God. Where thankfulness comes out of me. But thank God slips out of your mouth. The moment you decide, at this moment, where am I? Not worried about what will happen if I take the first step, or what will happen when I go. So the future or the past creates fear, but in the moment, at this moment, complete mindfulness, there is no fear, there is only thankfulness. And so thank God I'm alive. And that one thank God gives me a little breather. And then I say, what will happen if I take one step? Let's try one step. Oh, thank God, I'm still alive. So second, thank God. And before you know, third, fourth, thank. And your life will be, every step, you'll only be saying, thank you, God, thank you, thank you, thank you. So whether it is lightning outside or whether it's dark inside. But because you said thank you, the darkness didn't go away. The lightning didn't stop. The mansion didn't cease to be scary, but your fear went away. Because you started basking in gratitude, in the sense of thankfulness. If thankfulness fills our lives, and we are grateful for what we receive, we will automatically learn to give. And what I have, I merely share. And therefore, in that sharing, the giving excellence comes in. Every aspect of Swami's life is only giving. There was no getting from him. I had not seen anyone else until Swami, and now there are others who are following his footsteps, and that's the purpose of Swami's mission. He was the first to set up free education. He says education has become business everywhere. So what do? Did he sit there and curse the world and how bad it is? And no, he said, I don't want to curse the darkness, I'm going to light a lamp. Did that lamp remove all the darkness outside? No, but it has lit a few of our hearts. It has given us the energy to believe that there is a possibility. So he lights a lamp. What did he do? He started a college, free education. And that little door opened so many hundreds of youngsters would have otherwise had no interest in God or Sai Baba. Catch it, 18-year-old going to say, I'm going to an ashram, yay. It would have never happened, right? But hundreds and thousands have passed now in the last 30 years, 40 years in Vrindavan College. Very good. Vrindavan College just celebrated its 50 years and 40 years since the institute was formed. It is amazing how hundreds and thousands of youngsters passed through his portals of his divine learning. He created an excuse for them to walk in. He did not judge, saying, no, only devotees can come in. I don't want non-devotees. You don't need to say, Sai, no, you cannot join our project. Please, you want only Sai devotees. If Swami decided to do and get only devotees, you and I wouldn't have figured anywhere. I'm sorry, at least I wouldn't have figured anywhere. But he said, come, everyone. Oh, the door of God is to be open for everyone. And that, he created excuses. The youngsters would walk in through college, education, seeking education. They walked in. The older people who only wanted bhajans, okay, bhajans, sing. That door was open. Somebody says, I don't believe all that. I want to serve the people. Yes, please come and I have an organization for you too. So service door was open. Bhajan singing door was open. Education door was open. And later he opened the door of this medical institute. Sick people, come. Get free education. Which of these groups did he turn and say, by the way, entry fee is this much, please? And I'll end with this. When we had finished our PhD, we were beginning to teach. We became lecturers, we got appointment letters, and Swami was so proud that his own students who studied is now become teaching in his college. So he called us, and that evening, he said, I'm so proud of our teachers. But, he said, but I want you to understand one thing. I know you are teachers, but Swami was very hesitant at a very physical level. So we were telling Swami, please tell us what it is. He said, see, I cannot pay you all those big salaries, that kind of money. The outside lecturers, I have to pay them. So they are men with families, children, I have to pay them. But you are my boys. Is it okay if I just give you once in a while some pocket money? This is Swami telling us. That was a relation with him. And so, what do you think we said? Of course. We said, Swami, what you're going to give us with your hand is much more than anything else. Of course, Swami. He said, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And then, at that point, he said, never let your hand should never be like this. Don't seek. Don't hold a begging bowl in your hands. Give me a job. Give me more pay. Don't ask what you can give. Let your hand always be like this. Give. Don't receive. Give. Be the giver. Since that day, I try to give, to share. Have I achieved complete selflessness? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I just enjoy the journey of giving. And I want you to consider this act. this thought, this lifestyle, where you can learn to give. Could you give whatever you feel like giving at that moment? What is stopping us from giving is fear, more often than not. And if that goes away, because I keep practicing, I am God, I am never content, fear cannot enter me, then that fear goes away. All that is left is to give. Because whom are you giving to? Another aspect of you. This is all part of one consciousness. Whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, Kaivalya is oneness. That oneness is all that we are searching for. The separation is what has caused anxiety. The separation is what has caused crisis. The separation is what has caused ups and downs and discrimination of every kind. But the truth is, there is one consciousness playing this game of life. And you and I still enjoy playing our role. Some of us are beggars in the role. Some of us are kings in the role. Who cares? It's a role. The truth is, you and I are part of that one being. That is the joyful thing. If it's an acting drama and somebody's putting up a skit, would you like to get a chance of being a beggar with a lot of acting talent? Or would you like to be a host of a king who's just standing there doing no dialogue? You say, I want to be a beggar, I want to be a beggar. I want to cry and act because people will say, oh my God, you did such a good job. Right? But in real life, why don't I, it's when I say real life again, I catch myself. Because we somehow consider this as reality. The reality is that there's one consciousness. This is just a drama, a role, a fun. Life is a game, play it. Life is a dream, realize it. Life is love. Let's share that oneness, togetherness.